Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to Farming Simulator 19, and welcome back to Ravenport Farm. So, yeah, this is going to be our last episode of FS19 for a while. And I wanted to tie things off with something that I've noticed about YouTube and about being a YouTuber is whether you intend to or not, it sort of becomes competitive. I think maybe for me, that may kind of back off a little bit when I have a bigger audience, but right now I am really trying to grow the channel. And I've noticed the videos that have had the biggest response have been new things, either a new sim or a new DLC for an existing sim. And for that reason, I think I've gotten in the habit of kind of focusing on the new. And I definitely want to focus on the quality, but things that are new sort of move to the front of my world, if you know what I'm saying. And I was really looking forward to FS19, and I just sort of abandoned FS17. I didn't really tie off those episodes. And we have that latitude in sim gaming because so many of our sims are open-ended, right? There's no boss monster in Farm Sim, not in 17 or 19. There's no boss monster or final level in Euro Truck. They're sort of open-ended. If I was doing Red Dead Redemption 2 and I stopped before the ending, that's a big deal. Like, what are you doing, man? How's it end? But with FS17, I could just stop because, if we kept going, what would it be? It would just be more farming. So I just quit, and jumped right into 19. And it's been a month. Today's the 17th. So yeah, it's been about a full month. And I'm going to step away from 19 for a while. And I'll tell you why. We need to let our guy go one more row. Yeah. I'll tell you why. I got a DM. Oi. Loud. I got a DM from a map maker yesterday. And they were cool enough to reach out to me, maybe 6 weeks ago. It was before 19 came out. They were cool enough to reach out to me about 6 weeks ago and say, hey, would you mind testing some maps for me? And what? Are you kidding me? Yeah, man. I would love to. That is very, very flattering. That is very cool. And they DM'd me yesterday and said they had some 17 items. Would I be able to test them? Yeah. Yeah, I definitely would be able to. Because I still own 17. But I had uninstalled it. I got rid of it. So yesterday, after that DM, I went ahead and reinstalled 17. And I had deleted my mod folder because it was 25 gig, I think, and hard drive space. You know what I'm saying? It don't grow on trees, especially not with Sims getting bigger and bigger. So I went ahead and downloaded. It was easy enough to find because I had, before I uninstalled FS17, I had about 600 mods in my mod folder, and the majority of them were just kind of dead. I downloaded them for one reason or another. They didn't turn out the way I expected them to or hoped that they would, and I just never used them, and yet they were still in there. And because there were so many, it was difficult to spot what was a dead mod, what was, you know what I mean? It's like if I don't take it out within a few minutes of installing it, when it's still like fresh in my mind, which file it is, which folder it is, it just gets lost in the sauce. And they just built up and built up and built up. Another problem is a lot of mods come in with their own, we're going to mow a little grass here, by the way. A lot of mods come in with their own input bindings, right? And as a result, my input binding file, my input binding XML, was just hopelessly cluttered. It had literally thousands of entries. And you can't delete those in-game, as far as I know. When the control setup and the control binding setup for 17 was always a little bit clunky, but I never found a way to, let me remember my key codes here. I never found a way to delete an entry completely in a way that stuck. It was like it always kept it in there in-game. I think you know what I'm saying. Like even if you hit backspace, I believe it was. No, we're gonna do this. Come on now. I'll remember everything. There it is. Even if you deleted the key that you had assigned in the control panel. There we go. In-game, that entry was still there. You had to go into the XML and manually delete them. Well, I had thousands of input bindings in my XML file, to the point where, again, it was so cluttered and so cumbersome that I could not isolate and find the ones that I wanted to get rid of. And as a result, I was having a lot of kind of ticky-tack control issues, which driving me crazy. So I just deleted everything. Got rid of it. In a way, I was even glad to be done with 17. And I'd really been looking forward to 19. Well, yeah, 19 was a massive disappointment. But I said several times in video, you know what? I'm sticking with it. I'm looking at the long game here. I'm going to stick with it, and this is our new farm sim. And I compare video games to movies a lot, right? To film. I would say, arguably, the three best Star Wars movies are episodes 4, 5, and 6, right? So, for me to say FS19 came out, well, I guess this is our farm sim, I'm sticking with it. That's like me saying, you know, the prequels came out, episodes 1, 2, and 3. Those came out after episodes 4, 5, and 6, right? Those are newer. So those are just our Star Wars movies. Now, we're not going to watch A New Hope anymore. We're not going to watch Empire Strikes Back anymore. Those are old. We're just going to stick with those new ones, right? Or the Han Solo movie, right? That's newer. That's newer. We're just going to stick with that. No, of course not. The older ones are better. The CGI may not be as good. The acting may be a little corny. The script, come on. Episode 4, the sister kissing, come on. So, it may not be perfect, but it's got a feeling to it, you know? And when I said I'll stick with FS19, there's a couple things that I've realized since then. And being back in 17 yesterday, I realized that 17 set up the way I have it set up, with seasons and with gearbox and more realistic and terrain control and GPS and course play. It's got a feeling to it, you know. I hopped into a farm. I had to start a new farm because all my save games were gone. But I hopped into a new farm, UK farm. UK farms are my favorite by far. So I just hopped into a UK farm. And with seasons, it started me in the early spring, early morning, still dark, very misty, right? Cold. And I had good mod tractors with great sound and gearbox, right? And you get into this kind of sputtering old tractor and you put it in gear and it starts you in a low gear. You're just barely creeping along, you know, wind it out, grab a gear. And I'm just working my way across the parking lot of the store. I haven't even gone out on the road yet. And already it has a feeling to it. And I realized that FS19 has no feeling to it for me. It doesn't feel like anything, you know? Something makes you feel some kind of a way. Some things make you feel no kind of a way. And FS19, I realized I don't really feel any kind of connection or commitment to this game at all. And that's a weird thing to say, but again, you know, comparing it to movies, we do connect with movies. And to say, come on, it's a farm sim, you know, why would you have any feelings toward it? Why would you have any feelings about it? It's just a video game. Oh, okay, fair enough, you know. Lord of the Rings, what is that? It's just a bunch of short people fighting the devil. Why would you feel any kind of a way about that? What's the big deal, you know? Star Wars is just a fairy tale in space. How could you feel anything about that? I don't know. You just feel something, you know? So, I don't feel anything when I play this. And I feel like there's no story because it's so open-ended. You can just do whatever you want and everything's fine. And if you get in a bind, just do some missions. Well, a good mod map in 17 won't have any missions because it's got irregularly shaped fields and you can only run missions on square or rectangular fields. So there is no out. If you're out of money, you're out of money. There's no way to just bang out a bunch of missions and make a bunch of money. Can't do it. I know I'm mostly sticking to the edge of our crop grass here, and I could be going much further out. I realize I'm doing that. I don't know why. I think that might be the OCD. But regardless, I feel like 17 has kind of a story to it, if that makes sense. It's maybe not the best way to explain it, but 19 has always just felt like grinding. You know, I don't know if you in a shooter game, I don't know, in Tomb Raider or something. I don't know if you've ever had to go back to a save point or got knocked back to a save point in a part of the map, a part of the world that you know really, really well. And it's like, oh, okay, I just need to get back to whatever, you know, the place where you got killed or whatever. And you just kind of speed run the map. You're not looking around, you're not enjoying it. You're just getting through it to get back to the place that you want to get to. I feel like 19 is like that all the time. Like, I'm not really enjoying anything that I'm doing here. I'm just doing it to get to the next thing. And I said this a month ago, well, maybe 3 weeks, when I sort of reviewed 19. This doesn't feel like a farming simulator. It feels like a farm equipment collecting simulator. Like, all we're doing here is just grinding to make enough money to buy the next thing. And I read several different places that Giants had not necessarily admitted, but the Giants is aware of the fact that people want more realism, and they are not interested in that. They do not want to make a more realistic sim. And that sort of ties in with the last thing, or the next thing on my list, I guess. You know, Giants has said they're not interested in making a more realistic sim, and they're not interested in, how do I want to say this, addressing the needs of what I would describe as their most hardcore users. Because their most hardcore users, oh, that's interesting. Okay, we're taking the stubble off the field here. I didn't lift my mowers when we came around, and okay, interesting. Yeah, the most hardcore users are people that have the game heavily modded in PC and play with seasons and play to a very realistic level. And they've said that's not our core market, and we're not interested in making the game more realistic. Okay, that's fair enough. But what I realized about 17 when I got back in it is it can be modded to make it more realistic. But as I've been playing 19, I realized that I think it is intentionally not realistic. It is intentionally unrealistic. And I think that goes to, again, the more casual console player that wants it unrealistic. And I've said this many times. I really think their core market is somebody who just wants to come home from work, smoke a bowl, pour a glass of wine, whatever it is that you do, and just goof around with tractors for a while. I don't know that people necessarily want realistic handling and physics in their vehicles to the point where, if you time things wrong, if you have the wrong crop in the wrong tipper with the wrong tractor and you're trying to get up a hill, you can't. You will not ever be able to get up that hill with that tipper and that load because of more realistic in gearbox. It just will not happen. And I think for a lot of people that's very frustrating, and they're just not interested. So I feel like Giants went the other way. And to be fair, they are going after the biggest slice of their audience, which is not necessarily the most devoted slice of their audience. The casual gamer may be where they make most of their money, and they're in business. They have to make money. So I feel like this game is intentionally unrealistic. And I've seen a lot of people talking about how this is really just a console game that's added to PC as an afterthought. Again, not their core market. The PC gamer is not their core audience. And I don't want to be overly dramatic here, but it's like they just don't care about that part of their audience. And when I saw the list, and I've certainly made my contribution to it because I feel exactly the same way, but the list for 19 was pretty simple. The top of the list, obviously, was Seasons or something like Seasons. Courseplay or something like Courseplay. Right? Tram lines. Tram lines it's a really big deal. Once you can make tram lines with Proceed, it's like you can't ever go back. It just makes such a difference to see a great big field. And this map in particular, we'll have to come back and get these little stray bits. This map in particular has those big American fields, right? They're just begging for tram lines. No, nothing like that. So I felt like the things that everybody that I know that's into this sim, the things that everybody wanted, were completely overlooked. And they put horses in. Really? Okay, that's odd. And I realized they didn't overlook them. That's just not the kind of sim that they're trying to make. And in fact, at that point, I think we can maybe say that they're not trying to make a sim at all. They're trying to make a game. Because in a way, all video games are sims. Right? When you play Battlefield 5, we call it a game, we call it a first-person shooter. You're simulating being a soldier. Right? When you play Red Dead Redemption, you're simulating being a cowboy. When you play GTA 5, you're simulating being a criminal, right? Or whatever. All gaming is simulation gaming. Giants isn't interested in making a realistic sim. They just want to make a video game. And they just want to make money. And that's totally cool. I don't have a problem with that at all. But this game does not address, I guess, the needs of people that want to play a serious farm sim. It just doesn't do it. It sounds like it doesn't do it intentionally. So I think for that reason, I'm going to step away from it for a while. And I think I may step away from it permanently in the same way that, those prequels, those Star Wars prequels, it's like they're not going to grow on me. I don't care how many times Lucas goes back in and adds things to the screen. That's the Lucas technique. I know I made this movie and it was done, but then CGI evolved, so I'm going to go back and add a bunch of crap in every frame that I can. I don't care how much stuff he adds to it. Those prequels are always going to suck. And I guess because gaming is at the moment, where are we? Phase 3, third generation of games, seventh generation, different ways to look at it. But I do feel like it's maybe not competitive. Maybe that's not the right word. But I do feel like games are always pushing right now. Games are always pushing the envelope of graphics. And as a result, graphics cards developers always need to be pushing as well to be making new cards to run these hotter and hotter games. And once a hotter card comes out, then game developers make content for it, right? They make games that push the limits of graphics more because these cards are available, and it's just a kind of a back and forth, right? And so a new game must always be better than an older game, right? Even in the same franchise, right? I mean, there's no way GTA 4 is better than GTA 5. GTA 5 has all that new stuff, right? Well, in this case, GTA 5 arguably is a lot better than GTA 4, but you get what I'm saying. How could something older be better than something new? Well, I think we can see an example of that right here, and I think it's not necessarily because of technology, although I have to say 19 really did not impress me at all. I really think this could have been released as a patch because it's not, the graphics are not that much better. All it feels like is a slightly different baking process and a whole lot of bloom added. I feel like they just cranked up the bloom. It doesn't, yeah. I mean, I was in 17 yesterday with no reshade, and it just felt so much more moody and atmospheric and immersive. Felt like, you know what I mean? Felt like I was in a painting. This feels like I'm in a video game. And I'll circle back to to one other thing about that. But yeah, there's nothing so great about 19 that it's worth overlooking the shortcomings, of which there are a ton. And I don't know that there's going to be a lot of mod content for it because, I was saying earlier about the most hardcore audience for this game. The modders are, I believe, for the most part, in that hardcore audience. Casual gamers are not building mods. Casual console gamers are not making maps. The most hardcore gamers are the people that make the mods. I think that makes sense. And they don't like this game. So I don't know how many mods we're going to see for it. And a lot of the core mods that we sort of rely on to make 17 what it is, those are made by people that are involved with cattle and crops. They may or may not make their way to 19. I've heard both. I've heard people say that somebody will make those. Well, maybe. I mean, Seasons is a pretty big. It's pretty big. Now the lead programmer for Seasons is not involved with cattle and crops, as far as I know. They work for Giants now, and Seasons was not included. And I feel like that should have been the first tip-off. That when Seasons was not part of 19, even though they had brought the lead programmer for Seasons into the company, I think that should have been a red flag, for me at least. And it wasn't. And the fact that they did not put Seasons in this game, I think, says it all about how they feel about their core audience versus the biggest part of their audience. So what I'm saying is I don't know that those mods are going to make it to FS19. And if that's the case, then I'm not waiting for it to get fixed. I'm not waiting for the modders to fix it. There's nothing to wait for. And I feel like this is going to be one of the first times, just in my personal experience, that a new game came out, a new sim came out, and I took a look at it. I took a good look at it. I've played this game, I think, over 120 hours in the past month. It's quite a few hours. And I'm comfortable saying it's not doing it for me. It's really not, to the point where I'm going back to 17. And this is, I guess, as good a time as any to show you this. This game is a bad console port. This game was not made for PC. It was not made for PC gamers. And, I have horrible jaggies in this game. Even with my settings on high and some of them on ultra, I have unbelievable jaggies. I cannot sort out the anti-aliasing in this game. Well, I was blaming my system, I was blaming my card, I was blaming my settings. But anti-aliasing, part of the quality of your anti-aliasing can be determined by the quality of your port when you make a console game into a PC game. I feel like this, I agree. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to agree with the speculation in the community that this is a console game that was badly ported to PC. Yeah. I have to agree with that, because it just won't look good. There are some components of the graphics that, turn the beacons off here, that do look better. But again, at what price? The base maps are just dead. They do nothing for me. And, maybe that was the case in 17 as well. Goldcrest Valley was not so good. But I feel like 17 lit people up in a way that they wanted to make good maps for it. And I don't know that we're going to see as many good maps for 19. Because keep in mind, again, that map makers do this. They don't make... Well, I don't think any of them make a lot of money making mods. But they definitely don't make... Let me say that again slowly. I don't think any of them make a lot of money. I think a lot of them don't make any money at all. They just do it because they love it. Well, how much work are you going to put into doing something for a sim that you don't like? And again, the hardcore farming community, sim farming community, doesn't like this game. A lot of people hate it. So I don't know how many good maps we're going to see. So I put all that together, and I fire up FS19 last night, and it looks effing fantastic. And I'm able to run, in comparison, I'm able to run my settings significantly higher. No jaggies, no anti-aliasing problems, no frame rate problems. The lighting is not as sophisticated. The clouds don't move. Textures are a little different. I think it looks so much better. I really think it does. And it definitely looks a lot more moody and atmospheric, and it pulls me in. It's immersive, right? It does something for me. I feel something when I'm in FS17 on a good mod map with all my favorite mods cranked up. Here, nothing. And I have no idea what I'm doing or why. Basically, I'm just painting fields over and over so I can buy more fields, so I can make enough money to buy bigger equipment. It's a console game. It's not a farm sim. There's nothing realistic about it. So, because I've been just ending series and not really tying anything off, I did want to make this video. I thought about doing a 17 video this morning, but I'm going to do a 19 video and tie it off and tell you why. And that's why. So I'm going to, when I'm done recording, I'm going to go ahead and get this into render. And then I'm going to delete these save games. I am going to keep FS19. Well, I own it on Steam, so obviously I'm going to keep it. But I'm going to keep it installed. I'll take another crack at it in a month, maybe. See how it's coming along, maybe the next patch. But for now, yeah, it just didn't do it. And this is the first sim where I've ever taken a really good look at it and said, no, I'm going back to the last one. So I am. We'll see you in 17 next time. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out The Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Farming Simulator 19. This is Ravenport Farm. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.